WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by JW Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
We Should Know is on air. I want to thank you for being with us today, each and every Tuesday at 2:30. We come to you from WCLN Star Communication, and we're talking about information that not only do you need to know, but may be beneficial, or it may be something that you want to participate in, or it may be something you want to get involved in. Each and every week we bring you that information, and hopefully it will continue to be helpful for you. We're announcing as we do the shows in August. August is our kind of anniversary month for us. This is 10 years in doing this show. It's amazing how fast time goes, but we started 10 years ago in August doing We Should Know from WCLN Radio, and then of course transferred over to simulcast as well with Star Communications Channel 16 as a summation of the Sampson Weekly newspaper. Our guest today is a name that a lot of people is familiar with, Chris Sessoms. Chris and Company, business here in Clinton. Chris, you've been involved in a lot of stuff. You've been in a lot of church activities. You married a good friend of mine, Mitchell, over in Roseboro area. I've known him for years and years. And you're involved in something called Helping Hands of Sampson County. I want to start, though, if it's okay with you, I want to start just about your business a bit, because I really like to hear from business owners how they're surviving and handling the COVID-19 pandemic era. A lot of businesses, as you know, have not survived this. They're gone. Some of them are just struggling. How is things in the beautician world and that kind of thing? Are you able to hold that together?
We are. We have to follow our state guidelines, of course. We have people sign in when they come in and take their temperature, just so if somebody were to become positive, we could go back on our records and know who was there that day and that time, so that we can contact them and be fair to everybody. Our difference for us is we have to use a clean cape or new cape on every single client. Plus, we're having to clean our chairs. So it's slowed us down production-wise. But, you know, being in business for 40 years, my clients have been loyal. And so, you know, they continue to come, even though it's slowed down. One of the cute jokes I heard a friend of mine say that was a hairdresser she said, the good thing about this is they can't go anywhere else. So they have to come back. So I thought that was cute.
Absolutely. And 40 years, I mean, that's a mile mark for your business. I didn't realize you'd been in business 40 years.
Yes.
But Chris and Company, so you've been around for a while.
Yes.
Customer loyalty. Talk to us a little bit about customer loyalty. In some businesses, maybe they don't see that, but that's critical, particularly for the business you're in, is it not?
Yes, because if you don't have it, you don't have the turnover and you have nothing to count on financially. You know, we have several people who have made comments. I had one lady come in and said that, you know, she quit going to her hairdresser because she was charging them a $50 service fee because of COVID. So I think you have to be aware of their hearts as well as your hearts. You know, that you can hit people with financial stress that they can't handle right now. But it is customer loyalty that has kept us alive. I even had one individual that sent me a check every month, just like they were getting their hair done during this COVID crisis.
Whether they showed up or not.
Correct.
Wow. Wow. So when you first saw this COVID thing coming along, there was that period of time that you couldn't open.
Correct.
Based on what the governor's orders are and so forth. How much did that set you back? Did you have a lot of time to make up? Was there other people besides that one that would, you know, say, well, I'm going to continue to send you a check? And how long were you, quote, actually out of business?
We were out for 2 months, almost to a T. Financially, you can't make that up. You just can't. No. You know, when people come in, you can charge a little more because you've got 6 inches of hair that you have to use your product on. But you'll never make it up. I made the statement that this had happened to me 20 years ago when I was a single mother. This would have been huge for me. But thank heavens I had a husband who could continue to pay the bills and allow me to use what savings I had to pay the bills and keep it going. because there was nothing coming in.
Now, do you have additional people that are also dependent on that business other than just Chris Sessoms?
I do, but in our world where we're at in Sampson County, 9/10 of the businesses are rent-a-booth. Right. And of course, we each had to treat our employees as we thought fair. I could not treat my employees the same amount of rent as if they were working. They didn't have an income either. Some of them didn't charge anything. Some of them made them pay the same amount because they are self-employed. So it really was how each business handled it. I feel sorry for the small businesses that couldn't get the PPE. If they were single-owned businesses and the only worker, they had nothing to fall back on. They had to fall back on their savings in order to keep everything going.
And as I talk to small businesses, and we've had some on the show since this has been happening, that savings sometimes is kind of a very narrow margin. As you just said, somebody that's new in business, or maybe they were just a business startup, even folks that have been in business for several years, they look at it and their profit margin hadn't allowed them to build a large amount as a cushion, so it dangerously not only affected them, but as you know, added to that huge unemployment.
Well, example, my landlord said to me, don't worry about paying me, you can catch it up later. Well, catching up later you still have to make the money to put it back. So for a new business, I really, really am concerned about them even now because they've had to get loans to keep these things going. And I don't think we've seen the bulk of it yet. I think the financial thing, people are holding on, but I still think we're going to get a wave of it more in the future, just listening to my clients talk.
When you think about how your business, how typically you operate it, and you alluded to the fact there's certain things that folks have to do when they come in, does this kind of environment require more time on your part, which ultimately cuts back on your availability of making money, because the more time it costs you, the less time you've got to have to move people through? How does that work in the sense of the kind of business you're in? Because I know it's people in, people out, and I mean you can't obviously keep somebody there for 4 or 5 hours to do something that should take 30 minutes.
Well, for me, I've always been a hairdresser that I would have 3 and 4 in there at a time, but with the new guidelines, I can only have 2. So it has slowed it down tremendously as far as your turnover time with your clients. So you have to book knowing that if this appointment is a 4-hour appointment, you can't work a lot of people around that appointment. You can only have 1 more in there at a time. So it has slowed it down. As far as customers, like I say, I've done them for so long, they just come in and just sign in now. They know what they got to do. But I do get a lot of people that say thank you, for us keeping the records and keeping track of what we're going and protecting them.
Do you think people understand not only the importance of what the requirements are, but the expectation that you put out there, that do they understand why they're going through this? As you explained kind of a while ago, there's a need to do it to be able to track if a person has something. Did they come down with it? If you check a temperature and their temperature's off or something, talk about that a bit, because it always kind of interests me that, and I've thought about this, if somebody comes in and their temperature is like 102 and you check their temperature, do you send them away? Do you tell them to go get tested? What do you do about that?
Well, I have a dear friend, Dr. McPhail. So he has given me
good
guidelines.
Advisor.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and I have told people, that he has recommended that if you're this temperature, that in protecting ourselves and others, we have to refuse you. To this day, I haven't had anybody that's been that number. And talking about dealing with people, I've got some that are 90 because I've done it so long.
Wow.
So I go and do them one-on-one because they just don't need to be around other people. You just can't take that chance with them. So,
Chris, do you get calls for home visits? Do you get people call and say, if you'll come to my house, I'll pay you whatever you need to do it? Does that happen?
Well, the only way I've done that is if it's my client and they're bedridden.
Yeah.
Yesterday we had an example, a young girl come in and wanted to book an appointment and none of us knew her. So we didn't know who she was around. We don't know, you can't take that on. You just can't. You have to protect the people that you know and that they're taking care of themselves. So financially, it just makes you turn away money because you're protecting your clients.
And that's kind of troubling in the sense that you just indicated, you're out 2 or 3 months, you will never make that back up.
No, never.
And so now you're talking about potentially new clients, but I think it's what I'm hearing you say, you're so concerned about those folks that, quote, are loyal, that it's not worth the risk of you doing something that might damage them by bringing somebody else in.
Correct.
Wow. And most businesses that I've talked to, and some of them I've had on this show, every business has a different angle of how they have to deal with or approach COVID. There's not like a one size fits all. I mean, the CDC and DHHS here in North Carolina can give you guidelines, but they really can't give you specificity on your business, can they?
No, they can't. We have clients that use hand sanitizer before everyone gets in the chair. We have a light that kills the germs on the chair so that you're protecting them. A germ can go a long way, and you've got to protect these people. You've got to.
So disinfectant is a key issue. When that
Yes.
person leaves that chair, how do you distance in your environment? How do you use that, quote, 6-foot distancing thing? Is that workable in your environment?
It is, because we're in private rooms.
Okay.
So where, the salons that don't have something in between them be different, but each one of us have a private room. So we're 6 feet apart no matter what. Now we have to watch the people in the hall that come and stand and talk to other people. You have to watch their time, and you can make little subtle comments, that you just can't hang out in the room with them. But most people understand.
So most people are pretty receptive. You
Yes.
hadn't had to really get, should I say, aggressive and
No.
say, look, I'm expecting you to put a mask on while you're in here and that kind of thing.
So they've been great with it.
Well, we're going to go to our first break,
Okay.
and when we come back, I want to get into Helping Hands of Sampson County,
Okay.
kind of give us a foundation of what that is, and we'll be back in a moment to talk about that.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today. We're talking with Chris Sessoms, talking about a number of issues. I wanted to open today with a little of her experience in being a business here in the county and how she's working through COVID-19. As we come back, stay with us. We're going to talk about Helping Hands of Sampson County. Call a friend. We'll be back in a moment.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Welcome back. We Should Know's on there. My name is JW Simmons, the host of the show, and we're glad to have you with us today. Again, as we mentioned early in the segment, early in the show today, this is our 10th anniversary of We Should Know. August is a big month. We're going to try to celebrate all month and let you guys know and thank you not only to everybody that's listening and watching this show or reading it in the newspaper. We want to thank you for being with us all these years, and a particular special thank you to all those sponsors that sponsor this show. We've got some sponsors that's been with us from the beginning, and they're very important to us, and you keep hearing from them. So when we go to break, you hear from all those sponsors. Please look at them and consider them if you have a need for any one of those sponsors. They're great people. They add a huge advantage to this community. Speaking of anniversaries and years of service, we have Chris Sessoms with us. Chris owns and operates Chris & Company, and 40 years in business, Chris. That's kind of hard to top that. That's a track record.
What can I say?
It's a track record. So when you hear the name Chris & Company, as you pointed out in our first segment, folks really are loyal customers. Do you have people that you still see from 30, 40 years ago?
I do. My very first customer that come in the door, I still do them.
Wow. Now that's loyalty. There's a lot of businesses that probably, even if they wanted to, they might not be able to boldly say that.
Well, I'd say most of my clients I've done 30 years.
Wow. Do you ever sit down and just in your mind think, okay, now what have I done? Because apparently you've done something right for somebody to still be coming back. I mean, you just can't make mistakes and keep people coming back for 30, 40 years.
Well, I think first of all, you have to have God in your heart. Second of all, you've got to fall in love with that person. And they've got to know that when they come, of course you're going to get your hair done, but that whatever they say to you stays there.
Right.
Because you're an outsider, it doesn't matter. So a lot of them I can say are really close friends over the period of years. They really are.
Sounds like it's almost a therapy session as well.
Yeah, you know, I had two clients my very first day I worked, and one of them was Lou Fetterman years ago. And I'll never forget him bringing Annabelle in and saying, help her.
What a wonderful lady. I was in Rotary with Annabelle Fetterman. You just do not find that class of a person. Very classy lady.
Absolutely.
God bless her.
An honor to do her, you know, all those years, and even went to the home and did her for many years.
Wow.
So she was a great friend.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that with us and talking to us about your business as it relates to COVID. I want to transcend to something, and you mentioned this, you know, you've got to have kind of a spiritual drive to do some of these things, but you've been involved in a leadership role in an organization called Helping Hands of Sampson County.
Yes.
It's been involved, and you've immersed yourself in that as the leader of that organization. Tell us how Helping Hands of Sampson County got started, why you were involved in it. Was there one thing or many things that triggered you to step up and do that? Because now that's been going on for a number of years as well. And remind us how long Helping Hands has been here and how long this has been part of our county.
We're headed into our 6th year.
Wow.
It started when the officer got shot years ago, just because he had the uniform on. And my thoughts were, I can't change the world, but I can do something where I live. And that's really how it got started. And I just began to start talking to people. You know, how do we say thank you to the people who are serving us? You know, recently Helping Hands fed everybody in the hospital, from the janitors to even the people in the tent. These are people who are putting their lives on the line for us in order to keep us safe. Yes. So that's what Helping Hands is about. How do we say thank you to the people that are protecting us, serving us, and caring for us?
Now, you've had folks involved in this effort. I think you refer to them as committee members or what have you.
Yes.
And that list is kind of interesting. Talk to us about some of those people that's involved, that's been there for you for the past 6 years, and it's been instrumental in helping you move it forward and to make things happen.
Oh my, I couldn't even begin to list them. There's so many of them.
Yeah. You probably got, what, 30 or 40 people?
There's 30-some on the committee at this time. Right now I can't have a large meeting, so I have to pick key people in the meeting that I will need for whatever task. The last meeting we had, I had pastors from the churches that are on the committee to try and put together our next event that we're trying to put together. But you know, Dr. McPhail, like I said, he's one of them. He is our spokesperson normally when something takes place. Margaret Malpas has been on it. Marcia Prestige is on it. We have a lot of committee people that have been there that may not be at every meeting, but I certainly pick up the phone when an idea comes or something comes about that I can get sound advice from. And of course, one of them is Marcia. Because she's looking at it from a corporation. You know, how do I present this, or does this make sense, or is this something people would back? You know, and then I try and get the pastors together for their churches. Do they feel like this is something they would like to promote or that they care to promote? And then usually put it together from there.
It's interesting that when I think about what you've done and some of the things that you actually put in motion just prior to COVID hit, and you've had to kind of postpone it. And one of those events was up at Hub's Corn Maze.
Yes.
You were actually planning to bring in all the paramedics and emergency medical responders in the entire county.
Yes.
And here's the interesting thing. I want you to talk about that a bit, because that's not gone away. It's the last time I saw it, it was postponed. But that was an unbelievable, and still is a major labor-heavy chore to do. But you were going to bring everybody in and literally just give them a day with their families that they could feel a little bit relaxed, not stressed, and it was local, and it was something they could easily get to, and you were going to feed them. And just talk to us about what that plan was. why it didn't happen, because it was staged and ready.
Yes.
Why it didn't happen, and when are you hoping to do that?
We postponed it because of COVID. The number of crowd that we were expecting was 2,600 people.
Wow.
Even at hubs, you can't get that many people in that property and keep them 6 feet apart, and certainly on the rides, because we were bringing in an actual fair to perform that.
A professional fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully we've postponed it off till April of next year. All of our vendors or whoever we worked with agreed to do it without us losing any money. So we've got it set for, I think it's the 24th and 25th of next year. We just moved it a year up.
In April?
Yes. And next time, if things go well, I would like to invite our doctors and nurses, because they have been a big part of Helping Hands this year.
And especially with what they've been through.
Yes. So we'll just have to see where it goes, and financially what our donations are and what we can do with it.
When you talk about doing something of that size for that many people, give folks an idea of the financial strain that puts on an organization like Helping Hands of Sampson County. You have to have so much kind of investment up front, because you just mentioned you bring in an outside fair. I mean, that's just the booking of that requires in the thousands.
Yes. Our last event we were putting together was going to cost us about $40,000. Wow. So I am thinking if we add the groups that we'd like to, it's probably going to run us $50 next time.
Wow.
That is a lot, but majority of it comes to our P.O. box in $7 and $10 and $15.
So it's not like the large. A lot of people think, well, okay, you're going to get 10,000 from this organization or 15. No. It's not. It's the small donors.
Yes, it is a way for Sampson County people to say, I care, I love you, I appreciate what you've done for me. Most people that I've ever spoke to would just like to hug one of these people. Mm-hmm. And by giving $7 or $10 and putting it together, it is a way for us as a county to actually do something massive for these people. And that's what we'd like to do.
Chris, when you're doing this, of course, I know you look at all angles. Your committee obviously just named a very few of them, but you got people on your committee that are very connected in different aspects, as you mentioned, in corporate world and service industry and so forth. Do you look at civic clubs as being an asset for what you try to accomplish? I mean, is it hard to bring civic clubs together under one umbrella to say, all civic clubs are going to support this one event, for example, what you're doing for paramedics and emergency responders?
The last time it was not. They all contacted me. Wow. And wanted to actually do a donation. Part of it. Yes, be a part of it. And you know, we certainly want them to come, and if they want to set up a booth and thank these people. It's not about a Chris project or a committee project. Mm-hmm. It's about a Sampson County project. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't think small in this. You've got to open the doors for many, many people to come in and say thank you.
The venue with, I believe you said 2,600 people, Hub's Corn Maze, I've been by there. I don't know exactly the dynamics. Is that venue large enough to handle that many people?
Absolutely. We had even where we were going to put the rides at, which is a separate section. The feeding of the people was a separate section, and the dance floor and the DJ was a separate section, so that we could keep all of the avenues away from each other and separate, so that the crowds didn't bunch up.
And to keep people moving from one
Yes.
venue to another
Yes.
and that kind of thing.
Yes. So it's really like going to a fair. You're going out and you're walking around, you're going from ride to ride and doing whatever you want to do. You just don't have to buy tickets.
Yeah, and that's the reason I was thinking size, because I'm thinking of fairs like the county fairs that used to come around and so forth.
Yes, but she definitely has the space. And she's got the parking space for that. So,
well, we're going to take another break. I want to touch on that again when we come back. Then I'll get into a program you got coming up pretty soon that folks need to know about immediately. But we'll take a break and we'll be back in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with Chris Sessoms. We're talking about a lot of things that Helping Hands of Sampson County is doing and some of the things that they had to postpone. When we come back, we're going to talk a bit about something that's coming up soon that you can help with. We'll stay tuned, call a friend, we'll be back.
You come out to replace a bad sensor, and that has a 5-year commitment to my contract, and you don't tell me? Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping homes secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody trying to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us. We Should Know is on the air. My name is JW Simmons. If you just happen to be joining us, either turn your radio on, you're driving down the road, or you happen to be at home and just flipped over to Star Communications TV channel, you see us on there and you're wondering what's happening. I'm talking with Chris Sessoms. Chris is a business owner in Clinton here. She's been in business for 40 plus years. She's a beautician, hairdresser. I'm not sure exactly, Chris, what the specific title of that is, but you've been in business long enough to know what a woman business leader is, and you've made a lot of friends and a lot of contacts, and loyalty, I would say, might be your trademark. So we were talking as we went off about a project that you had started, and that project was one for paramedics and healthcare workers too, and you're going to include the hospital folks, the emergency room people, nurses, and that kind of thing. But you've postponed it because of COVID to 2021, and that's going to happen up at Hub's Corn Maze.
Yes.
That's still in gear.
Yes.
That will happen. You're looking at an estimate of 2,600 people. I don't know what I keep thinking about it, but folks need to understand that's huge for a rural county like Sampson County.
And when you add the hospital, we're probably talking 3,600.
And that is even bigger. So when you look at that, the venue's got to be large enough. A full circus professional fair is coming in to stage this.
Correct.
What do you need, and how can people help you in this event? I mean, you've already got a lot of folks on your committee. You've already engaged a lot of people. You've already raised money because it's being postponed.
Right.
Going forward, what do you need them to help you with this event before we get into the one that's coming up in September?
Basically, at this point, if it's a business and they're wanting to make some kind of a tax deduction at the end of the year, they can mail a check to the P.O. box, which is 475 in Clinton, which is our mailbox. And we still get donations coming into that mailbox. I pick it up weekly so that I keep on top of it, and I can mail back their tax deduction receipt for this year. One of the things that they need to be on the lookout for is come January, we will be out with the banners again, that they can post them in front of their business, that they have supported this event. And then the day of, we will take all of those out there and put them on the property so the people attending that can see that. There are so many ways that people can help with this because it is such a large function that even if you have an idea, call me. You know, feel free to come and talk to me. A lot of people come to me. Example, one of the insurance companies called, and so for every policy they're writing, they're donating $10 to Helping Hands. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be a part of this, and using the Helping Hands way, people to know that part of what you're doing is going to help the community.
And I think one of the things that I want to back up and mention, that Helping Hands of Sampson County is a nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Registered nonprofit. So if a donation is made, it's made to a charitable nonprofit, so folks can claim that as a tax deduction.
Yes.
Whether it be a large corporation, somebody with a large business may say, well, look, I need to kind of move some money to a nonprofit that helps a lot of people.
Right.
You could say, well, we do that.
Correct.
And it's not only involved, but it's very clear, and you can see through everything. It's not like you're a national company where you've got, 20-30% of your overhead goes to administration. The money goes back into the organization to help people.
It goes in, and we had the the deputy whose home burnt, and we were able to make a donation to them. So it's about helping all of our first responders. I don't care who they are or what their aspects is. I rely a lot upon the sheriff and Ronald Bassett, the emergency management, that they keep me in touch with things that are going on with their people that need help. And that's certainly what the money is there for.
I want to segue a bit now to something that you've got coming up in September, as I recall. And this is an interesting time. And first thing I want to do is kind of give everybody kind of an overall introduction. And then I want to ask you how this kind of came on you that you needed to do something. So you've done some things in the past for various emergency responders. You've got this thing planned that you had to postpone because of the size of it.
Right.
But this particular thing is about acknowledging the importance of our, quote, police officers, law enforcement officers. And that's the broad range of all those folks that carry a badge, that do things, that work all kinds of night shifts, that are out there. They're the people that come when that creaking in the night or that noise you hear is not just a noise, that there's something going on. They're the people that are there if it's a traffic accident. They're the people that are there when somebody has a major issue and acting out and there's nobody else to call. What gave you that kind of thought that we need to do something? Because I know everybody knows on media now, they're really putting a lot of things that's happening. They're talking about defunding police departments. They're talking about cutbacks. Even there, recently we've seen dismantling. Let's just do away with all of them. You know, what piece of that said to you and to your committee, it's time somebody done something?
I think the largest silent majority still back our police or our highway patrol or our sheriff department. All of us realize that if something were to happen and there's nobody to call, we've got a situation on our hand. And I sure don't want people to have to start shooting people for coming in their home because they have nobody to call. The idea came to me when a very dear friend of mine said to me that he had gotten a call from his son, and his son said, "Dad, do I need to quit?" And I thought, wow, there's a lot of families out there that are wondering, do I talk to my husband about quitting? You know, I have 3 small children. Do I need to give up? I'm close to retirement. Do I just go ahead and retire? So how do they know that we really care, that the silent majority cares? Because they're not saying anything.
That's right.
I find most people that are of that caliber sit in the background and just don't say anything. But in talking to my clients, they are very upset about what's going on. They can't believe what's going on in our world, as I can't. So I thought, how do we let these officers know that we in Sampson County still love them, still want to protect them, and by all means want to stand behind them? How do we get that word out? And so the idea came to me about doing both. Let's do a blue and black day. Let's do blue and black bows. Let's put them on our mailbox. So as these people drive by, the silent majority is saying something to them. They're saying, we love you, we trust you, we want you there, we don't want you to quit. You know, one of the things that's said to me a lot is that we have bad officers. And my comment always is, well, let's not defund them, let's educate them. Let's give them training. Don't take the money away from them. Give them more money, if anything, to put them through trainings. A lot of these guys are very young guys. You know, when I was 20 years old, sometimes I made stupid decisions too. But that didn't mean that I didn't have proper character or that I didn't love what I was doing. It's just I made a bad decision. So we need to thank these guys for what they are doing. You know, the little officer that we gave the money to whose home burned, when I checked out about him, I found out that he worked at Bojangles and paid his way to go to law school or to the Justice Academy. Yeah. That says a lot about him, that's a desire or a goal God had just put in his heart. And we don't need to discourage those goals or those feelings. Just like somebody doesn't need to discourage me about wanting to cut hair. It's a gift that God gave me, just like He gave it to them. So I wanted to do something to let them know we cared, and from there it grew. Then it became a Helping Hands project. Then it became us feeding them one day just to say thank you. And one of the things we want to do is when they come is for us to give them a whole cake. Not just for them, but take it back to your family. Let that family know we care. And by them carrying a whole cake home is saying something to that family. And so that's the reason we want to do the cakes. So Clinton Community Church is going to allow us to feed them on the September the 14th and 16th from 11 to 1. We've had one of our churches is going to cook the hamburgers and cheeseburgers, and certainly we're going to do more than one because we realize they're men. And we're going to put everything else in a brown paper bag that Becky Spell's group are coloring for us on the outside. And they'll pick up a bag and whatever they want, cheeseburger, hamburger, and they'll be able to eat it in their car. And we're also making canine bags because we realize we have 5 canine animals in our area that will be in the cars with these people. It's not fair for a man to eat a cheeseburger in front of a doggy and not give him something. So we are doing canine bags.
And that's a good point. And those officers that have those canines, that is their partner. That animal backs them up just like a human being does.
Absolutely.
And they think highly of that. So,
right.
And they are well trained.
Yes.
And they are highly skilled in what they're doing. So that's amazing. So I think as I look at this, I kind of get an idea of where you're headed and what your committee's doing. The support of this to this point, the word's just starting to get out a little bit.
Yes.
And we're going to go to break in just a second, but how is it looking? How is that support looking? Do you see people stepping up that you hadn't heard from, that maybe heard about it in college and said, look, I want to do something, or maybe just sent you a check?
Well, I've had people walk in the salon to want bows that I've never met.
Wow.
So that's amazing to me. And we just sent out 197 letters to churches. So if you are part of a church, please look at that Helping Hands envelope when it comes to you and read it.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to go over some of this in more detail so folks can write it down, jot it down. Plus, we're going to give them a way they can contact you if they need more information.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment. We're talking about an event coming up in September that you need to know about, the spearhead of that event, the organization that's behind it and pushing it, and why it is important to you. So call a friend, stay tuned. We Should Know will be back in one moment.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We Should Know's on there. I want to thank you for being with us. We're coming up on our last segment today. We're talking about something that you might want to get involved in. In fact, feel pretty sure you probably do, and at least offer your support or reach out and participate. We're talking with Chris Sessoms, the leader of the pack here, should I say, for Helping Hands of Sampson County. Your committee is made up of a large number of people, very influential people in the county, people that are involved in different capacities, everything from education right on around to corporate leadership. And we're talking about doing something for those folks that serve and protect us 24/7, all day, every day, anytime anything goes wrong. If the creak in the night that we hear is not something that's cracking in the house and happens to be breaking a window, they're the people we call. They always show up. They're there. They serve and protect. They're called law enforcement folks. It's a passion. It's a service job. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
I've had the good fortune to know a lot of those folks, still do know a lot of those folks, have the colonel with the North Carolina Highway Patrol sitting right where you are. In fact, I've had the past 3 or 4 colonels on this show. I find those people and all the folks that I have talked to in law enforcement to be very well-trained, very educated people, of around 800,000 in the United States. It's like anything else. If you take 800,000, there's going to be some folks, as you pointed out, that's going to do some things that's probably shouldn't have happened, just quite frankly. But if you look at it, the overwhelming majority, from looking at it statistically, probably 99 plus something percent, are great people with compassion and care. And I just offer my support in the sense of saying it's a great opportunity for folks to step up. Now let's talk about how they do that. You're going to feed these people September
14th and 16th, so we get both shifts.
14th and 16th,
yes.
And that is all the law enforcement folks in the county.
Yes.
And it's going to be at the community, Clinton Community Church,
yes.
And that's the church beside of Sampson Community College.
Yes.
Can't miss it. Huge church on the left.
Correct.
Law enforcement people that's listening to this, or law enforcement people's family that's listening to this, and they say, well, I want to make sure my officers hear about this. Maybe you're the police chief. Maybe you're a sergeant that has a shift. What should they do? How did they engage with you if they hadn't heard from you, or somebody, they're just hearing this and they go, well, I hadn't heard about this, and quote, I am a law enforcement officer. What should they do? Should they wait for somebody to contact them? Should they pick up the phone, call you, and say, well, I'm a police officer, I'm a trooper, I'm whatever, and I just hadn't heard about it? How did they get engaged here?
I would first say don't worry.
Yeah.
I have contacted the department heads.
Okay.
They know what's coming, when it's coming. They will have tickets when they come that day in order to pick up their food so that we know that they are in law enforcement, because we realize a lot of them are undercover. Mm-hmm. But if you are concerned, they can call me. My number is 596-7005. That's my cell. If I don't answer, just leave me a message. Or if you want to write the P.O. Box 475 in Clinton, you can, and leave me a message that way. But I feel like most of the people will get through their captain or their chief or whoever is going to contact them, because we have let them know this is going on.
Let's talk about churches. You indicated that a letter has gone out to churches.
Yes.
Now, when this show airs, those letters probably will already have been received.
Yes.
The letter gives the folks at the leadership of the church what you're asking them to do to participate.
We're asking them to donate $12 toward a cake. We've had someone who's willing to make our cakes for $12. They have to come through a restaurant now because of COVID. We can't ask individuals to make cakes. So by donating $12, you can give one to law enforcement. We also ask that you send us labels with your church name on it so we can put your church name on those cakes so they realize what churches are helping with this event, as well as we will have a large sign outside with each church name that has helped with this, so that as they pull up, they can read those church name. Everything in the bags that is donated will have the business or the church name on it, and everything is in an enclosed thing. Like, we can't give a brownie, we have to do like a sealed cookie, because they're leaving the premises of the church with food. Everything has to be sealed in the bag.
And it's all designed around COVID, so to be safe and to meet the state and federal guidelines, everything is in order. And I think that's the next point I wanted to make anyway, you just made it. So you followed all of those rules and protocols, even to making the cakes, so it will follow the health department guidelines. The people that's making the cakes is certified by the health department.
Right, correct.
So the $12, that if a church receives this and they say, well, look, we'd like to do half a dozen cakes, or maybe we'd like to do 10 cakes, it'll be $120. They can send you a check for $120 that they need to send independent labels for each cake?
Yes, so we can put them on the cake.
And then they'll be listed when they pull up.
Yes.
So basically, the folks, if law enforcement people that are listening to you now, you're saying to them, this is an event that you drive through, we hand you this, You'll see signage that says, thank you for what you're doing, and we appreciate you. But you've got another thing that I think is important. I really want you to talk about that. This ribbon thing, and you can go ahead and hold that picture up now, because I want everybody to see it that's viewing today. These ribbons are relatively large ribbons, and when we say ribbons, we're not talking about something you put on a package. This is something that you can put on your mailbox, entrance to your driveway. If you got a business, you want to hang it on the door of your business.
Correct.
But when people does that, Chris, explain to them what they're looking at and the message they're sending to the community. When they put that up there, because what they want to know is, now the organization, we've explained what Helping Hands of Sampson County is, highly credible nonprofit.
Yes.
But this message, they're saying they support, I'm going to say it this way, they support the rule of law and law enforcement in our communities.
Yes, you're saying that I support the black and blue, which is what the project is called. And one of the ribbons you will see, it has heroes or protect on it, which is the official ribbon of the law enforcement, which is the black and blue. I also urge you, I've spoke with Parker and Company and Bryant's Florist, and we've picked out colors. So if you don't want to come pick them up, they're at Chris and Company at my business downtown in Clinton. If you want to go buy them Florist and get it, please, I urge you to do that. Our bows, we are making $2 profit on, which is helping us toward buying the meat to feed these people. But we certainly have enough money in the account that we can do that. So I'm not worried about that aspect of it. I really want to see these everywhere. We kept them at $20 so that we felt like it was affordable for everybody, that they could put one on their mailbox. Nothing would tickle me any more than to see 10,000 of these all over our county. I mean, however many we could get. I think the population is 63,000, am I correct?
Something in that range.
So if you had 10,000 and these people could drive around and see them, what an awesome feeling to know that my county really does care what I do, and they really do support what I do. So that's the whole point behind this, and to say thank you.
So when they can either, as you mentioned, call you or go by and pick up one at your business, or they can go to Bryant's Florist.
Or Parker and Company.
Or Parker and Company, and just walk in there and say, I want one of the law enforcement bows.
Yes, yes.
And it's the same price wherever they go.
Correct.
$20.
Correct.
Whether you want 1, 2, or 10, whatever, you can get them.
Right.
There may be companies that might be interested in saying, look, you know, or there may be administrators, law enforcement administrators say, well, look, I'd like to buy enough for all the folks that work for me. Or a supervisor might say, well, I'd like to buy, I've got 4 people on my shift, I'd like to buy one for each one of my guys on my shift.
That's fine. Now, they may vary as time passes, as we run out of ribbon and can't get it, but they still will be blue and black. And
the important thing here is to move forward with this idea that they're backing the blue.
Correct.
And that's probably one of the most predominant slogans I've heard around anywhere.
Right.
Again, I want to mention that Post Office Box is Post Office Box 475.
Correct.
And the call number for you is 596-7005.
Correct.
That's your personal cell number.
Correct.
That's bold. So you're giving your personal cell number. They may have to leave a message, but you will get back with them.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, what have we missed? We got about 2 minutes. I want to make sure we, reiterate whatever we need to or cover what needs to be covered.
Just to basically say that if you really your heart is broken for what's going on with these people, please buy a bow.
Yeah, or if you're stressed, if you know somebody this may be questioning, did I get in the right profession? Buy 2 and give them one for the mailbox and one to give to a friend or something, but somehow you don't have to say anything if you have one of those bows.
Correct.
He says it for you. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Correct.
And they should be, how many do you think is available that could be purchased, say, in the next 2 weeks? 100,
I've probably
200?
got 100 at least, but I have a group of people that are willing to step up.
If they start running low,
they'll step
refill
up in time. Yes. So right now it's just me and a friend tying them. So, but still, we'll make them available. I'm not worried about that.
Well, I'll say this, and I think I'm safe in saying that I believe if the law enforcement folks were standing over beside of us now, they would say thank you very much and thank Helping Hands of Sampson County for just letting us know that we're appreciated. They're not asking for anything other than we're appreciated, because we've had officers, Chris, you've read this, that are under a great amount of stress, that are dealing with a lot of anxiety, and some of them even saying worse than when they were in the war. So many officers have been fought in the Middle East, and they're saying some of this stuff is worse than that because of humiliation. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you for this. And hey, if you want to hug him and you can't, put a bow up. It's a way to hug him. Absolutely.
Thank you, Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being with us today. We talked about a number of issues related to Helping Hands, what they are doing coming up next year, what they're doing coming up next month. We asked you to think about participating and being part of that. You know where to get the bows, you know where to pick them up. And as always, we thank you for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday right here. And may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host JW Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.